The morning sun painted the city in a warm golden hue as John revved up his motorcycle taxi. It was a promising day and he was looking forward to a great day of work. John had always loved his job, the wind in his hair, the freedom of the open road, and the chance to meet people of all sorts. Now, when I say all sorts of people, I mean all sorts, from people professing their love for him through interpretive dance routines to drunk conspiracy theorists who believe the government is hiding the real purpose of traffic lights. And today was no different as he geared up to pick up his first passenger. As he maneuvered through the streets, the air felt crisp and invigorating against his skin. Passing his favorite food stall, he was hit by the aroma of smoked fish and chapati. The city was alive with activity, and John couldn't help but smile as he zipped through traffic. Life was good. But then, as he reached a quiet, less traveled street, his mood took a sudden shift. He noticed a car parked on the side of the road, and something about it seemed off. It had no license plates, and the windows were tinted so dark that no one could see inside. John had seen his fair share of strange things in this city, but this was different. It gave him an eerie feeling. As he cautiously approached the car, a heavy, putrid smell hung in the air, causing his stomach to churn. The odor was unlike anything he had ever encountered. It was a pungent mix of decay and something unidentifiable, and it seemed to seep out of the car's trunk. A chill. Just then, the driver of the car rushed out, quickly looked around to see if anyone was watching, then removed a metal trunk from the boot of the car, threw it out, and drove off. As the car sped off, he got out of his hiding spot and walked to the metal trunk, trying to discern what was inside without getting too close. And suddenly, the realization hit him like a ton of bricks. Heavy, heavy. There was no mistaking it. The stench, the silence, the aura of dread in the air. It was the unmistakable feeling that death was in that trunk. Panic welled up inside him, and he knew he couldn't ignore it. Frantically, he pulled out his phone and dialed 999, reporting the suspicious vehicle. The dispatcher calmed him down, assured him that he would send an officer to investigate right away. Minutes felt like hours, and finally the flashing lights of a patrol car appeared. Two officers approached cautiously, ready for the unknown. They opened the trunk, revealing a sight that sent shivers down John's spine. A lifeless body lay wrapped in a green tangle of cloth and plastic, discarded like trash. John could hardly breathe as he watched the scene unfold. As the officers began their investigation, John turned away, his heart heavy with the weight of the day's events. His anticipation of a good day had vanished, replaced by the sobering reality of the world he navigated every day as a motorcycle taxi driver, where the beauty of the sun and air could quickly give way to the chilling reminder of life's fragility. As John gazed upon the lifeless body, he gasped. It was Edwin. He'd never met the man personally, but Edwin's impact on the world was undeniable. He had been a beacon of hope, a voice for the marginalized, and a symbol of unapologetic self-expression. John couldn't help but feel a deep sense of sorrow at the thought that such a vibrant and inspiring individual had met such a tragic end. Habari Marafiki, my name is Jackie and welcome to the African Crime Files. Today we dig deep into the story of Edwin Chiloba. Now, I know some of you know Edwin. He was a fashion designer, LGBTQ+ advocate, an overall remarkable young man based in Kenya who lost his life 1 year ago in a tragic set of events. Welcome to what was formerly known as Kenya's Rift Valley province. Edwin's hometown in a land of diverse cultures, stunning landscapes, and rich history. The Rift Valley province was the largest and one of the most economically important provinces in Kenya, renowned for its striking geography dominated by the Kenya Rift Valley, which granted the province its name. The people of the Rift Valley are a diverse group of different ethnic identities, with the Kalenjin and the Maasai being two of the most prominent groups. The Kalenjin community has produced many of Kenya's top runners, while the Maasai people are recognized for their distinctive cultural identity, both nationally and internationally, serving as Kenya's cultural symbol. And if travel is your thing, I got you. This is the place to go. It's simply a breathtaking blend of nature and culture, where you'll discover places like Amboseli Park, which is renowned as the ultimate destination to observe free roaming elephants in their natural habitat. Then, within the park, you can also engage with the Maasai people and explore an authentic Maasai village. Additionally, Amboseli Park treats visitors to awe-inspiring vistas of Mount Kilimanjaro, the tallest freestanding mountain on the planet. In addition to that, the Rift Valley is also home to Lake Nakuru, a world-famous haven where the shores come alive with the presence of thousands, if not millions, of flamingos, crafting a breathtaking display of nature's magnificence. And it is magnificent. Trust me, I've seen it. And if adventure is your thing, it's definitely not mine. You can go hiking, cycling, motorcycling, and camping at Hell's Gate National Park. And this park is just absolutely beautiful. It would encourage anyone who is not into any form of physical activity to at least try. That includes me. It's a stunning place, captivating, and it includes places like Thomastown, Lake Bogoria, and the hot springs of Lake Elementaita. And it is here where our story today takes place, in Elgeyo Marakwet County. It is here that Edwin came into the world, alongside his older sister Gladys. Born on February 6, 1997, he grew up in a very small and scarcely inhabited village known as Segowit. When Edwin was 7, he lost his mom. Now, I couldn't find any records on how she died, but as someone who's lost a parent, I can imagine the grief that followed must have been so overwhelming. There's this deep, very deep sense of hopelessness that would have been difficult to put into words, especially at such a young age, and just really, really painful. And if that wasn't all, during his high school years in 2015, his father died, making him an orphan. Just like his mom, I wasn't able to find any information surrounding his dad's death. It was, however, during this time that his older sister Gladys took on the parental role of raising Edwin, a huge and unimaginable task for someone so young. Their father, a retired nurse, had left them with insurance benefits, which Gladys used to fund Edwin's education. During this time, Edwin and his sister really struggled financially and emotionally whilst moving from one relative's home to another in search of support, stability, love, all the while remaining committed to Edwin's education. And what makes me sad is knowing that Gladys prioritized Edwin's education over her own. But despite this and the challenges they faced, Edwin did fairly well in his studies and got a B- in his final exams. In the end, it was Gladys who, according to her account, persuaded Edwin to enroll in Moi University's West Campus education program. His sister utilized the resources from her late father's estate to finance his education. But then, only 2 years after he started his education degree, Edwin made the choice to quit.
So when alimaliza alipata B-, and we were very happy because me also I had a B- as his sister, and I think Edwin did very well. And because at that time my dad passed 2015 when Edwin was finishing his Form 4. my mom had passed the year 2004, and now we were remaining the two of us. My dad was a retired nurse. He was a nurse when he was akikufa. So benefits yake tukapata, nikamchunga Edwin. Nika advise Edwin because niliona education is a very good cause. Though alijaribu kuresist, nikamconvince so much. Nikamwambia Edwin, education is good because si Kenya huwezi pata. Ukisoma education, utatoka na utapata job. Akaenda akafanya Kiswahili CRE. Education Arts Kiswahili CRE. Nikampeleka self-sponsored, yani parallel. KP West Campus, Eldoret. Nikamuadmit Edwin, then tukaagree, we had a joint account. Tukasema, sasa hiyo pesa, it was around 700,000. We agreed na Edwin, tukasema atafanyia wapi? Parallel. Edwin akaendelea first year, second year. During the second year, akaniambia he's not interested. Na akimaliza second year, akaniambia haiko interested na education. I was like, no. Imagine 134,000 times 2, the investment I made. So, why don't you just finish?
Despite his sister's persistence, encouragement to complete the course, she was disappointed, to say the least. But Edwin knew who he was and he knew what he wanted to do. So in 2019, he moved to Eldoret to pursue a career in fashion. Now, this was a daring move and a very uncommon choice for a man to pursue a career in fashion due to the stigma and biases against men in what is viewed as a female profession. But this is changing as we see Kenya's beauty and fashion industry grow and accommodate the entry of men who have boldly slayed in women's clothes like Dennis Karuri and John Mongai. These trailblazers are creating a world for other men and women to express themselves, and Edwin dared to be one of them. Edwin's passion for creating unique outfits, participating in photo shoots, and taking part in pageants was met with disapproval from some members of his family. Now, culturally, they held a lot of reservations about his chosen career, with some even harboring concerns that he might be under the influence of the devil. Believe it or not, yes, Shaitani. To grasp this perspective, one must delve into the intricate nature and history of the LGBT community in Kenya. Now, with the arrival of the European missionaries and explorers in the mid-19th century, the propagation of Christianity's anti-homosexual doctrine commenced among the diverse ethnic groups in the region. In 1963, following independence, the government under Jomo Kenyatta retained anti-homosexual laws, asserting that there is no African word for homosexuality. Kenyatta argued that this absence of a native term for homosexuality demonstrated its foreign and non-African nature. Former President Moi also declared that Kenya has no room or time for homosexuals and lesbians, emphasizing that homosexuality ran counter to African norms, traditions, and religious beliefs, being considered a grave sin. However, during my research, I discovered that despite the assertion by many Africans that homosexuality is incompatible with African culture, there is evidence of homosexual behavior in some African communities. An article by B.C. Alimi in The Guardian sheds light on a significant aspect of the intricate interplay between culture, religion, and the acceptance of LGBTQ+ individuals in Africa. In the northern part of Nigeria, the term Yandaudu is used to describe femme men who take on the role of wives, quote unquote, to men. And this is an example of the existence of gender and sexual diversity within African cultures. In the Buganda kingdom, in what is now Uganda, King Mwanga II was openly gay and faced no discrimination from his subjects until the influence of white men and the Christian church brought condemnation of homosexuality. Now, though King Mwanga is the most prominent African recorded as being openly gay, he was not alone. This example simply illustrates that LGBT plus acceptance in Africa's history wasn't universally negative, and it was the introduction of external influences like religious beliefs that contributed to changing attitudes. So, I'm curious as to what accounts for the current dismissal of homosexuality. The article points out that some of the factors contributing to the current dismissal of homosexuality in some African regions is the growing influence of fundamental Christianity. Ironically, while some individuals argue that homosexuality was a Western import, they in turn used a Western religion as the basis for their argument. When people who are homophobic are challenged, many have said that it is not our culture. However, when you probe further, they argue that homosexuality is not in the Bible. But the Bible is not our historical culture. This shows that there is a real confusion about Africa's past. BC ultimately raises questions about Africa's complex history, highlighting the need for a nuanced understanding of the diverse and evolving landscape of LGBTQ+ acceptance, an identity that in all its complexity Edwin was not afraid to acknowledge, despite all the condemnation and opposition he knew would come along with it. This opposition from his family had a significant impact on his mental health, ultimately leading to his decision to move to Nairobi to establish a niche for himself as a fashion designer. It was during this time that he connected with Peter and Donna, a missionary couple residing in Kenya, through Facebook. They gave him a home, and he made the move from Nairobi to Eldoret in 2019 to pursue a fashion design course at the University of Eldoret. Edwin's talent and passion in the field of fashion design eventually garnered recognition, and in 2021 he was nominated for the Pulse Fashion Influencer of the Year award, a testament to his growing influence and impact in the fashion industry. Now, in addition to his career in fashion, Edwin was a vocal advocate for LGBT+ rights. In December 2022, he used his platform on Instagram to declare his commitment to fighting for all marginalized people. In 2020, Chiloba met Jackson Odhiambo, a freelance photographer and son of a pastor. Odhiambo was thought by very many to be a gentle, reserved, and respectful man. I guess many are until they're not. A reminder that people can harbor concealed aspects of their character not always apparent on the surface. Now, the details surrounding Jackson and Edwin's love story and the dynamics of their relationship remain largely undisclosed, which regrettably is not surprising given the stigma and misconceptions that often shroud gay relationships. Nonetheless, an unnamed individual close to Chiloba did raise concerns about Odhiambo's alleged abusive behavior, shedding some light on a potentially troubling aspect of their relationship. Later, it was also revealed that Jackson was married and a father at the time he and Chiloba met. This stirred questions and left many grappling with the complexities of the situation, like several possible scenarios, including the prospect of them being in a polyamorous relationship or some form of an open arrangement. Alternatively, and highly likely, it is more plausible that he was involved in an extramarital affair with Edwin. Regardless of the specifics, what followed is simply unjustified. On New Year's Eve, Edwin, Jackson, and an unfamiliar companion went out to celebrate the new year. Their destination, Tamasha in Eldoret, a well-known night spot known for its great music. Here, Edwin bumped into his sister, Gladys, who was employed at Tamasha. He arrived at around 10 p.m. in the company of his friends, who she had not met before. She thought they seemed nice enough at the time, We now know one of those friends was Jackson. Gladys was happy to see her brother, and the night was full of excitement as they welcomed the new year. And as the clock struck 1 a.m., they all witnessed the awesome fireworks together. In their final exchange, Chiloba bade his sister farewell, told her how much he missed her. They hugged, and in her words, he seemed so happy and in high spirits. Little did she know that this would be the last time she'd ever see her brother alive. Then 2 days later, on the 3rd of January 2023, an absolutely terrible and grim discovery shook the quiet community in Wasingishu County. A lifeless body was found in a metal trunk discarded by the roadside. The police's attention was drawn to this horrifying sight by a motorcycle taxi driver who had witnessed the box being abandoned by a car without license plates. The remains were wrapped in women's clothing and covered with a duvet that seemed to match one of those in Edwin's previous photos. Now, Chiloba had been reported as missing. His last known appearance dating back to New Year's Day, the day he saw his sister. He'd returned home with his friends in the early morning, laughing, chit-chatting, painting a sort of seemingly ordinary picture of celebration. Yet, the police have reason to believe that this was the day Chiloba lost his life. Some neighbors at the time recall hearing disturbing commotion and cries, only for the sounds to subside all of a sudden, leaving behind this sort of unsettling silence. Yet, despite the disturbance, no one came forward to report the incident at the time. And you know what? I sort of get it. It's New Year's Day. People are out and about, getting drunk, having fun, causing harmless commotion. And you don't want to be that individual who reports something when there's nothing happening or when there's nothing to be worried about. But I also can't help but think, if one person did report the incident, would Edwin still be here? And what's even more unfortunate was during the release of the reports confirming the identity of the deceased as Edwin, very many rights organizations began to speculate that his homicide might be linked to his sexual orientation. But we now know that it was not the case. It was a crime of passion. A few days after the discovery of Edwin's body, Jackson was arrested. According to his account, he, Chiloba, and another friend had a fun New Year's Day at Tamasha nightclub in Eldoret. But the night took a dark turn when, upon returning home with Chiloba, Odhiambo became enraged over suspicions of an affair, and in a fit of rage, he strangled Edwin and gouged out his eye. Edwin must have been so terrified. Here was his best friend and lover standing over him, slowly taking his life. I mean, the shock, the fear, the hurt. Furthermore, it was later revealed by one of Edwin's friends that Edwin was not even having an affair. Now, it's important for me to make it clear that even if he had been, it would not justify the violent actions that led to his death. Odhiambo was clearly unfaithful himself and was leading a double life with a wife and child. Odhiambo's final post on Instagram features a video reflecting on the events of 2022. In the post, he expresses his love and gratitude to Chiloba for being his true friend, emphasizing the significant amount of time they had spent together and the many experiences they'd shared. Yet only days later, he takes his life. If that wasn't bad enough, after confessing to the murder of Edwin, Jackson had the audacity to request the court release him on bond, using his family's well-being as the reason. I mean, seriously, this man claimed that his family would not survive if he remained in police custody. I mean, I feel for his family. However, luckily, the bond was not granted. As of today, Jackson has not received his sentencing, although the state prosecutors are currently pushing for a death penalty. During the proceedings in the High Court of Eldoret, the state attorney disclosed that after Chiloba's demise, Odhiambo indulged in festivities using Edwin's money, suggesting a lack of accountability, or at the very least, a profound absence of remorse. And I 100% agree. Odhiambo, who initially confessed to the murder of Chiloba, decided later on, you know what? Nah, I didn't do it, and withdrew his confession, pleading not guilty. Ugh, come on now. You know what? It's highly unlikely that he'll get away with it, but it's just so sad and aggravating for Edwin's family, for Edwin's community. You know, I know his family had concerns about who Edwin was, but fundamentally, they did love him. Once Edwin's community learned about his death, they felt this huge sense of betrayal. Now, to better explain it, there is a writer by the name of Kai Cheng Tom who created the term Queerlandia. I'll read it directly from here. Queerlandia is a haven where queer people can escape the oppression they frequently face from their families and communities, which can be marked by violence and neglect. But I think what really hurt his queer community and the friends who loved him for who he was that the attack came from someone they knew, someone from their circle, someone they trusted. Now, the thing with intimate partner violence, it's something that's already so hard to discuss and report amongst heterosexual couples. More so amongst gay people, especially in countries where being gay is criminal. Literally, you could face jail time for being intimate with a lover of the same gender. Now, an example of this is the Kenyan Penal Code, which criminalizes homosexual activity, threatening those who engage in it with up to 14 years of imprisonment. These laws, of course, foster an environment that stops victims from reporting and prevents them from seeking help. I do think it's important to add, though, that, gay people in Kenya are rarely imprisoned, even though they are intimate with people of the same gender in public. And this is because Kenyans tend to live by a code of you do you, as long as no one is being harmed, and they may disregard and ignore gay and queer people in general. However, this is still an issue, as it stops queer people from trusting that if they are in danger, they can report the situation. The murder of Edwin was clearly a tragic case of intimate partner violence. However, I can't help but wonder what if there was no fear around law enforcement? What if the laws were different? After losing Edwin, his entire family was left shattered, especially his sister, who had now lost her entire direct family. Now, it's very clear that the two of them were very different individuals. And they saw the world very, very differently. But fundamentally, they shared unconditional love for one another. I just hope she knows that his memory serves as a reminder that the fight for acceptance, love, and equality still continues, and that several organizations remain determined to honor Edwin's legacy by working towards a more inclusive future. Edwin had always been different, unapologetically so, embracing his very, very unique identity, and he is missed, as I said, by his family, his community, and those he impacted. And I'll end there, Marafiki. If you want to hear more cases from my home continent, please subscribe to my channel. Stay safe, and let's work together to make positive changes, no matter how small, in the world around us. Until next week, Kwaheri.